just going to let this roll. Pictures of the lab. We can have questions later. But from College of DuPage, you got about a 13,000 square foot lab. It's about 115 by 115. I'm here today to talk about industry partnerships and kind of what we've been doing. But there's a couple of things that I'd like to set in motion first. I don't even know if I need this. You guys hear me good enough?
You do.
You have to have this. Look at it. Who is it? Where'd you guys get this guy from? Okay, so, just kidding. We're still good. This is very confusing here. Projector.
Down there.
Yeah, I know, I got that. I got it. Extra technology, I see. So, Brian had brought up John Dewey. My tagline on email is, if we don't teach the technologies of today, we rob our children of tomorrow. I think that's an important thing to learn from a guy that was basically the person who really founded career and technical education, right? The only time we ever figure out we need technical skills or help is when we go to war. And somebody builds a gun barrel somewhere and put another gun piece together, and what happens? It doesn't work, and it blows up in our soldiers' faces. So from a security and defense perspective arose technical education. And when you look at it, it's actually kind of interesting in history. You know, we have these Perkins funding and grants and whatever it be, but it's a matter of, national defense. That's what we teach. These are the skills that our kids need to know. And it's kind of sad that it's getting stripped out of our school systems, but we all know that. We can talk about that later over my favorite thing, a nice cold glass of water. Okay. So, industry partnerships, and kind of what I'd like to talk about today is
So
first
what
things.
you're saying is you want to train the guys to hit the ball with a hammer, like the cartoon?
Yeah, no. I have absolute no mercy on it, my students. So I think you have to be. You almost have to be a foreman, right? And it all comes into this industry partnership thing. What we're going to talk about is you're selling a product. And what better product to sell in the world than whatever you create with your students, right? And one of the things I would like to lead with here is, a lot of people think it's a bunch of BS and those kind of things, but mission and vision, and what is it? If you don't know where you're going, how are you even going to get there? And I'll read you kind of what we put for our mission and vision. And this is about 4.5 years ago when I took over the program. We have 21 I have 21 different adjuncts. We have roughly 200 students, and I cap all our class sizes at least 16 to 14. I won't let it go beyond that because anybody that tells you they can teach an effective lab with anything over 16 is full of it. Bob Clark. Anyway, so our mission of College of DuPage, the mission of the College of DuPage HVACR department is to be the center for excellence in teaching, learning, and skills training. Our vision is College of DuPage will be the primary college that district and non-district residents choose for high-quality HVACR education. I know that seems kind of, okay. It aligns with our school's mission and vision, but you got to believe in it, right? This is what the foundation of your industry partnership should be. And our program now, in the last 2 semesters, has topped over the people that get all the attention in technical education, which is the automotive department. Right? They get all the money, they have the big companies that sponsor them, and they get all the teachers, the funding, the kids. When you look at an automotive department and you see that 99% of their program are high school graduates, and you come to manufacturing, welding, HVAC, and 1% or less than 1% are kids coming straight out of high school. There's a severe communication problem in technical education, as we all know. But our department has toppled over the automotive department in seat counts for the last 2 semesters. So it's important to me. The other thing, you guys saw the congressman up there. The congressman who was there, Raja Krishnamurthy, I'm not into politics that way. If you guys ever hear me over a cold glass of water talking politics, I could care less about that. I care about supporting the concept and idea of education, right? Technical education. And Raja Krishnamurthy was the co-chair for the Perkins reauthorization that just happened. That was the first time, I bet, a congressman got to speak in an HVAC lab. That was my lab. America. Bob Clark. No. And I got to keep it comical, right? It's the end of the day. We got to stay awake. It's good. So industry partnerships. How does this all tie in? How does it work together? You know, politically, you have to let administration understand where you stand. What's tough about our business is when you have places like GM and Ford and all these other guys out there, they're huge organizations, huge. They control everything in some smaller areas and arenas. HVAC is even, it's got just as many, if not more, but it's small companies, so they don't have a big say, right? So how do you bring this all together? Well, that mission and vision, when we talk about non-district residents, we have, if you ever heard of Illinois, right? You know all the different schools there. University of Illinois is the biggest school in Illinois, but they're bigger than us by 500 students, and we're a community college. So we have more undergraduate education probably than Northern Illinois, than Northwestern, than Loyola, all of those huge universities that people talk about and you hear about all the time. DePaul, doesn't matter, all of them. And we have in our HVAC program more non-district students than any other program over at COD. So word's getting out too, and it's all because of industry partnerships. And what that comes down to is when you're bringing somebody through your lab, you have to come up with an idea and a vision. And ours is I wanted a lab that our students built to showcase. And I beat on them hard, mentally, to do one thing, is to try to achieve a high level of skill so that when industry partners walk through our lab and they see it, they understand we mean business. And if you can create that, you can command that, and you push it forth, it's like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they'll come, right? And that's what it comes down to. So everything that we have in our lab, one of the mottos was, no contractors allowed, unless you're here to hire our students. And that's what we've been creating. So, recently we have a couple 75 kVA transformers so we can step up some voltages. We had to get the 480 volts for a couple of VRF systems. You've been seeing these VRF systems. That's an old picture of the refrigerators a couple years ago. But we had to put the safety rails in. You'll see the ladders that come up on top of them. Every one of them stacked with 2 sets of evaporators. There's 6 walk-ins that line the whole back walls. A lot of this stuff's been donated. I'm up to about $500,000 in donations. And when you get to that point, when you walk in, I remember Brian telling me at the first best event ever about just don't let an industry person take over your program. And that was one great thing I got to learn from a long time ago. And every time I have an industry person that comes in, I got to explain to them one thing. Because every one of them wants their name on everything. And yo, hey, me. And they want to be in front. And I let them know that education is a circle. You don't have to stand behind it, but you're sure as hell not going to stand in the middle of it. We're all in this together. There's a lot of different people that are served here. And we have a duty just as much to the students as we do to the workforce. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand. When I see a student and I'm telling them, people want to do the coddling, pampered, I'm going to hug this student and kiss him all the way until he graduates. You're screwing it all up right from the beginning. Why? Because you're not preparing them for reality. And that's our job as technical educators. That's our job in education, is to make sure education understands that we have to paint a picture of reality. Because at the end of the day, skills is what separates a first world country from a third world country. America. See it, think about it, look at it. Water, energy, roads, everything. So when I have an industry partner walk through, I take them through the whole thing. Sometimes, depends on what kind of attitude they have, but I'll go faster or slower. And I'll speak 1,000 miles an hour and I'll go into controls or mechanical or something else. In the end, you got to give them the Uncle Sam speech of, I want you, what are you going to do to contribute to this program, and how can we benefit your organization and you be part of this? And those are the most important things you can say is, how can you be part of this? Heck, I just met the guy for Bitzer. We're building our own rack system for some of the stuff. Just met the guy for Bitzer, and they donated some compressors for our rack stuff. What do you want? All brand new stuff, just shipped there, boom. And he meant business because he understood what we were doing. And you're going to run into reps. Sometimes you run into the sales reps. When I talk about industry partners, I'm talking about the manufacturers, and they're in all of your communities. You go after the manufacturers. You go after the distributors. You waste your time with wholesalers. You're wasting your time. They want to sell stuff to you. You tell your wholesalers to bring in the manufacturers' reps, and then you meet it with those manufacturers' reps at a later time after your initial meeting. So when I talk about industry relationships and partnerships, you want to set up meetings with your manufacturers. You want to understand who they are. You don't want to brush off your wholesalers because they're bringing all the people to the table with you. But they're there to make money. And they don't care. They want to sell to everything and everyone they can. But they have all the contacts. So when I talk about industry partnerships and relationships, you need to dig into the relationships and just the first level reps with introductions with all of your wholesalers. So your Johnstone Supplies or whoever you guys are using. Once the manufacturer's reps come in, then you go and you start mining, okay, bring your boss in, and now you start developing these relationships with the manufacturers, and that's going to be the biggest bang for your buck. They'll give you whatever you want. If it's for education, some of them might want a tax credit. I tell you what, I used to have the best line in the world for tax credit. Don't use it anymore. Don't have to, don't need to, don't even care about it. Once they get to be part of something, right, and you paint that picture, that vision, and that mission, that's when they all start getting together. And the more stuff that comes in, the crazier it gets, and all you have to do is maintain those relationships. And I see it a lot. I won't invite some people to meetings. They don't know how to talk to people. Oh, this and that and this and that, and they get in, and it's not a relationship. Brian always talked about relationships. He's exactly right. People want contacts. I deal with people all the time. They want, oh, give me your contacts. Oh, hey, why don't you just get out of here? Right? Right? Relationships. And you have to develop them. And you have to showcase them. You know, don't have a shirt on today, but we had Armstrong Pumps do their training by our lab. Donated probably like 5-6 pumps. You know, they had 80 engineers that got to see what's going on in our lab. I invite people to our college. I try to discount the conference rooms, and I bring in industry people. And when they see our labs, they tell other people about it. And that's the relationship that you're managing. You're developing your mechanical contracting community and bringing them to your lab and showing them that that is your mission. You are the center of excellence. And you have to believe it. That's how you build those relationships with industry people. Is you got to get up there and you got to give it to them. And you have to tell them truthfully. And when they give you stuff, it can't sit on your shelf for the next 7 years. You got to get that in. And that's a big problem out there. Because people get donations and it just sits there. People get donations that they'll never put in just because somebody said they'll donate it. You got to know what you can have, what you can't have, what you can put in, what you can't put in, what's realistic, what's not. So, you know, a lot of the problems that I see out there can be managed by just people. I mean, you see these boilers and pumps, and Well McLean donated $25,000 worth of boilers, all their brand new stuff. I got great relationships with them. I hosted our Illinois HVACR, Council of Air Conditioning and Refrigeration Educators. Our HVACR meeting in Illinois, we went to Well McLean, watched them pour. They were pouring all the casts for the boiler with the casting sand and seeing how it was built. It was awesome. They even poured it a little harder for us so it'd spark like a big old waterfall. It's cool as hell. That's the kind of stuff you got to do, man. You know? Let's go to the show. So, you know, I go to these different HVAC events all over. I like the best out of any of the different events is because the people that are taking the time to travel here, to hang out and meet, are the ones that really want to change what's going on out there. And that's what's important about this group. So another thing about industry relationships, just to give you a side note. So I work with a lot of the different unions. Okay, so we have our operators one side, we have mechanical contractors on another side. But sometimes it's really tough to get into those organizations. And it's a tight knit, and they think, oh, education, blah, 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 blah. They forget why technical education started. Let's go back to John Dewey and the guys, right? They forget technical education started because of the nepotism in the apprenticeship programs. And they weren't training like they were back in the day. So it became education's task to train people technically. It's back in the 1800s. And when you roll into the future here, now we have people problems. I don't know where to find people. I don't know where they're at. Interesting enough, the Mechanical Contractors Association. So the MCA, met the national president a couple months back. They invited me to the Chicago Regional Mechanical Contractors Association. And for the first time, we sat down and we talked. It wasn't just a one-way street. So a lot of people don't like the unions because what happens, I'm speaking plainly here, is they don't like having a one-way street. Educators. I have a lot of educators that I know that don't like the fact that they just pull people out of the program and dismiss education altogether. And that's not the case in a lot of the Chicagoland area. That's really changing a lot. And people are looking at a two-way street a whole different way. And I don't know what it is or the lay of the land for you guys, but that's a huge industry partnership to have, is to belong to the Mechanical Contractors Association. Sit on their council. Now you're going to meet the owners of all the companies, whether it's union or non-union. Mechanical Contractors Association. It's not relative to just being part of a union. These are the people that own all the businesses. No different than BOMA, the building owners. For operators, once they see what you're doing, once they see what's happening, and you start developing that relationship, where are they pointing all of their workers? Where are they pointing all their apprentices? That's where you start developing your enrollment too. Is because people start saying, that's the place. I'm actually thinking about advertising right out at the billboard right next to the private HVAC college. Just because I can. Why waste your money here when you love them? Yeah, exactly. But that's the kind of attitude you got to have with it, because they're just out there. They're just out there for somebody breathing on glass, whether they show up or not. What is education? It's our duty to provide the best technicians to the workforce that we can. It's not about that kid just being happy and coming through the program and giving them a hug and, oh, you're really great at this stuff. The kid almost blew up 12 other kids, right? No, I tell them, if you do that, you're going to get fired. You'll be the bucket boy the rest of your life. And I let them have it about the bucket boy thing. I don't know about you guys, but I let them have it. I see them not taking stuff seriously. I see them dazing off. I let them know. You want to be the bucket boy? You think anybody's going to pay you $46 an hour to just be ignorant, dumb, and show up? I have to tell them the Piker story every time. The Piker story is, it's in medieval times, right? People used to come to war. Knights would come with their shields and their swords. And then, their horses all armored up and everything else. And then there were the guys that just showed up. Hey, we're here for war. Got no weapons, got no armor, got no horses. We're here for war. And they're like, here, buddy, good luck. Here's a stick. You're a biker now. Right? I'm going to tell them that story because my dad taught me that story a long time ago. And you got to let these people that show up know that when you're out in the field, and they come back and they tell me all the time, I get them all the time coming back. I didn't think you were serious, Bob. No, well, you know what I was going to say. But, they come back and they go, I always try to put it in their heads that you're here in education. I am taking the time to teach you. Most people are scared for their jobs, and they want to be top dog, any place they're at. If you don't learn now, right, and you don't get that here, they're not going to give it to you out there, or you're going to learn some Uncle Dewey trick, right? Put some duct tape on it and JB Weld, and it's going to work. Get her to the next shift, right? Call a mechanical. So, you know, those are the kind of things that I try to establish. And even like talking right now, and I was just telling you that story, when I talk to industry people, I let them know that kind of stuff. All on the table. And you don't have to put a mirage up at all. That's the best way to have, I think, it's worked for me, the best, for industry relationships and partnerships. Thank you. Did you guys see that? You guys see that IntelliPack up there? We got the smallest IntelliPack there was. So it's like 20 tons, right? But I won't take anything that's, I've had 115-ton screws, air-cooled chillers, everything donated, but we built our own water-cooled, one of those sections, we built our own water-cooled chillers, but I wanted to keep the tonnage down so that the systems could all experience the rest. So I try to limit it to what's actually usable in the lab. At first, I was like, oh, sure, give it to me. But I learned the hard way that if you get stuff that's too big, you can't use it, or it's short cycling, you're not doing anybody any justice, your students anybody. So I turn stuff down like that all the time. You know, you got to size your pumps right? You don't just put a big pump in there. Well, Paul's here. Tell us how those engineers size pumps. Come on. That's right. That's right. Who was just saying that? Was it Mark? Mark? Yeah. 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 No. Seriously, but you really have to get into your size. You have to know your lab. You have to know what you want to do, and you have to control that focus. Because once you start developing relationships, it's very fast to fill that lab space up. And you know, my favorite thing when I came to COD was we had a 13,000 square foot lab, and I was like, well, it was a junkyard when I got there, but I threw out, I'm up to 30 truckloads of stuff, because people, you know, you guys know how it goes, right? Hey, students can learn from this. Yeah, it's a broken, smoking piece of garbage, and they want to drop their junk off at your back door. Oh, they're going to learn from fixing it. Great. Yeah, thank you. Okay. That's the kind of stuff you don't accept. Yeah.
Can you talk about advisory boards and how you engage them, I mean, aside from the donations, in terms of reviewing curriculum, offering internships?
So for, first thing, I never do internships. I get them jobs. There's too many jobs out there right now. Internships, forget it. Plus, this is straight from Bob Clark, I can't stand working with internships because the paperwork at the college is, no. You know what? If they don't streamline that process, it's, you know, we have a whole department dedicated to that. But for some reason, you have to spend 8 hours of your own personal time to help manage the people that get paid a full day's wage to do their job. So I get them jobs. Bypass the whole thing. Anyway, advisory boards, I kind of lead that. We talk about equipment. I can give you an example. If you guys would like to see an example of a PowerPoint, I try to keep advisory boards. I want to be mindful of their time, and I do probably no more than 30 minutes on a PowerPoint that's interactive. This is our equipment. This is what we're thinking. What do you guys think? If there's different decisions on procedural, you know, hey, what are we doing here? What do you guys say on this? I don't know. I think we're going, when we go down, I don't get that much input. They're just like, hey, what are you doing? We want to stay on what's going on here and keep up. I have a mixture of automation. I have a mixture of mechanical, commercial, light commercial, and some residential, and manufacturers too. I'll even have manufacturers there. And I kind of create our advisory board as more of a a networking event for all of our industry partners. That's a good way to put it. For all of our industry partners, when they're there, it's unbelievable how they all start to work with each other. And they develop new relationships. So now you're providing another service to the workforce and generating a different network, right, between people. And that creates even stronger support of your program, how you get funded, and the whole nine. Yeah, does that answer your question? No internships. And if I do a co-op, it's just an extended period, right? So a co-op to me is, you don't have a 90-day probation, you have a 6-month. But you're getting paid at the same time, and I don't deal with any paperwork to the employer. They want the people.
You know, it's a good point you bring up co-op, because here we have co-op ads where people can get unit credit for the work that they're doing on the job. Is that what you think of in terms of co-op?
No, co-op is, can they get credit? Yes. Do they have room? Do they want to pay extra for credit? I don't, you know, that's a tough one there. For, can they get credit? Yes. Will, if they need it, but they got enough to learn. Facility electric systems, mechanical maintenance systems, central heating plants, central cooling plants. There's too many other topics that they need to understand. I mean, the guy who's teaching our central cooling plants now was a service manager at Train for the last 39 years. He's a qualified candidate. Character, too. He always makes these cartoon pictures of me with stuff over my head.
Does he have a degree?
Almost an associate.
Because we got plenty of people that are experts that we can't bring into the classroom because they don't have a
So
Don't
let's
meet the
talk
quals.
about that issue right there. So what school are you at?
Cypress.
Cypress? Okay. So the question is we can't bring in people to teach our classes because they don't have college credit. So one, how we deal with this situation, you know, at a community college, everybody has to have a doctorate, right? I'm just kidding. So, yeah, no, I had to go. I went and got mine, and I see them all. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that discussion right now. But for adjuncts, so a problem that exists out there is if you don't have at least an associate's degree, is it the same for you guys, associates? A lot of people say no.
Even
Well,
that's harder.
yeah, well, they say an associate. Some people want bachelors. If you're in, you know, accounting or psychology, you have to have a master's degree, right? You just never get a job. And, yeah, I know. I'll be good. So one of the things we did is we have them test out for college credit. So upon coming in and getting employed, we'll have them test out of 12 credit hours worth of classes if they can pass the tests, like every student at our school is entitled to. So they come in, if they have expert knowledge, it's no different than qualifying somebody through, was it TACT or one of the other ones that was doing all the apprenticeship for credit stuff? It's happening all over the country. But somebody like that needs 12 hours worth of credit, because the Higher Learning Commission came in and evaluated everybody, we have to make sure that they're going through the process and getting qualified credit. The problem is somebody's got to come up with $300 out of their own pocket. And that's the way around it. You know, is you have to test, get college credit, get in. So that is a problem. It's a huge problem in technical education. Yeah.
We actually solved a similar problem before I started at college. The trades departments all ganged up together and went to HR, or with the support of the dean, went to HR and said, hey, look, our people don't have bachelor's degrees in the field. If you want people to be here and be able to teach these classes, to teach these students, you have to be able to accept work as an equivalency. And so what we ended up doing, or the agreement was that any adjunct who has a journeyman's license that's the equivalent of an associate's degree for our program.
This-
Master's license is a bachelor's.
We used to have it like that, but you have to have actual college credit
It's
now.
a state thing, it's not a school thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah. Go ahead, John.
So, to answer your question, in the state of California, it's really up to the district. And the district would use equivalency, in lieu of education. Because equivalency is the education that's needed to teach the class. So, Doug, to answer for you, it's really up to your district whether or not they want to accept, a person's experience, 6, 10 years, whatever it is in the field. Now, at Los Rios, you don't have to have, any formal education to be hired on as a,
Yeah.
CTE.
I think it's all relative to location where you're at.
You don't need any degree at all?
I think you gotta have a high school diploma or,
Okay, well, that's good, at least a high school diploma.
but again,
Yep.
it's dealt with on a district level. And
Yeah.
It's in Title V of the state education.
There you go, it's a state.
Yep. So I mean, everybody's dealing with it a different way, whether or not you're doing that. If you have whatever accrediting body around you, that's what's going to punish you one way or another. So, you know, it's hard enough getting an adjunct, right? It's hard enough getting a good one and making sure that they stay 21. I'm telling you, getting people in the game, down in the lab, you got to set those rules. So, and again, a lot of these adjuncts, too, and they're incredible. I mean, we got an awesome program because of the people that are teaching in the program. And if you're getting the right people, you got the right industry relationships, all of it works together. It's hand in hand. Industry relationships, partnerships, it's everything. And you always get somebody in there that, oh, you know, I can do this and do that, and the guy can't even hook up a recovery machine. You know, you're like, you know, you got to weed through them. Okay, fail, boom.
Bucket boy.
Bucket boys. That's it. He's gone. Any other questions? No? All right. I'll see you guys for that cold glass of water.